We start our lessons with Chapter 2, A Changing Society. It contains 5 lessons teaching you about changes in migration to Britain, how women's lives have changed, and about life in the UK for children, families, and young people. If you do not understand any words, please pause the lesson and use the dictionary function on the website to find out the meanings. We have carefully simplified the government text to help you learn, but underneath me is the original text from the government handbook, so please make sure you read through it and understand the vocabulary they use. So here we go. We are ready to start our first lesson, which will be teaching you about migration to the UK, different reasons why people migrated here, and changes in migration after 1945. Many people living in Britain today have their origins in other countries. Their families came from places like Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. In the distant past, invaders came to Britain, seized land, and stayed. Now, people come to Britain to find safety, jobs, and a better life. Britain is proud of its tradition of offering safety to people who are escaping persecution and hardship. So people who are living in danger or in fear of their lives can come here and feel safe. And people who live in poor places or in places where there is no work can come here to find work and have a better life. For example, in the 16th and 18th centuries, Huguenots, or French Protestants, came to Britain to escape religious persecution in France. They were in fear of their lives because of their religious beliefs. In the mid-1840s, there was a terrible famine in Ireland. There was not enough food, and people were dying of starvation. So many Irish people migrated to Britain. Many Irish men became labourers and helped to build canals and railways across Britain. From 1880 to 1910, a large number of Jewish people came to Britain to escape racist attacks. These racist attacks were called pogroms. The Jewish people came from Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and what was then called the Russian Empire. After the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, there was the huge task of rebuilding Britain. There were not enough people to do the work, so the British government encouraged workers from Ireland and other parts of Europe to come to the UK to help. In 1948, people from the West Indies were also invited to come and work. During the 1950s, the UK encouraged immigration because we needed more workers. So many industries advertised for workers from overseas. They went to the West Indies to find people to drive buses. They went to India and Pakistan to find people to work in textiles and engineering in the north of England. And we also went to India and Pakistan to find workers for the Midlands. For about 25 years, people came from the West Indies, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh to work and settle in Britain. In the late 1960s, immigration fell because new laws came in to restrict immigration to Britain. Controls were not so strict on people coming from old Commonwealth countries, such as Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. However, during this time, Britain still admitted 28,000 people of Indian origin who had been forced to leave Uganda, and 22,000 refugees from Southeast Asia. In the 1980s, the largest immigrant groups came from the United States, Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand. In the early 1990s, groups of people from the former Soviet Union came to Britain looking for a new and safer way of life. Since 1994, there has been a global rise in mass migration for both political and economic reasons. Before you move on to the next lesson, make sure that you understand all the key points that we have covered in the boxes below, such as some of the historical reasons for immigration to the UK before 1945, the main immigrant groups coming here after 1945, the countries they came from, and the kind of work they did.